Check, check. Check, check.
Hey, welcome to the October 28th RSU 14 Withdrawal Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from September 10th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Second item is reports from the subcommittees. Marshall, you want to
Okay,
bring us up to speed on where you are on the budget side?
I will. The Budget Committee is almost at a standstill at this point in time. We have built our foundation budgets as I reported out last time. We have put in contact the two technology departments, Kevin Woodbury and I believe his name is Mr. Hickey, from Wyndham, and they are communicating on several different levels, the classroom technology portion and the overall interface technology portion, and also the website is up for discussion there. So that is underway. I have not heard from Kevin. I know he's working on it as diligently as possible, and we will hear sometime. Kevin Oliver from our budget committee has been assigned to work with Nathan White, our Public Works Department, to develop some operations and maintenance data. And that will take a little bit. Fortunately, we have the numbers going back to 2008, 2009, so Nathan can build on those numbers to see where we are as far as building and structure and so forth. I'm not sure where we stand on capital budgets. That would be one of my requests, to see if the capital budgets that the school board put in the last couple of years were actually fulfilled, or if they weren't, and do we need to eat some of that stuff. As far as going forward, accounting and finance section, our town treasurer Kathy Ricker has started to look into that. The Sebago school system has been suggested as a possible source of information, and there are other items out there that we're looking at. Okay, so that's where we are. Where we need to be is, my job next would be to take a look at the special ed section. I'm experienced in special ed, and to take a look at that budget. We need some programming information, and we need some nutrition information. I think, you know, we all have ideas on nutrition. But in order for me to go any further on some of this stuff, I need to get some information from the agreement that is in process, because I'm kind of at a roadblock. For example, I'd like to know how many buses that we're going to inherit and so forth and so on. So that's what I have for tonight. Now, with your permission, I'd like to open it up to the audience. If they have any direct budget questions, I'd be happy to field those. If not, fine. Okay, but give them an opportunity to. Okay.
Any questions from?
Okay, then I'm finished.
And you're working with Mark on.
Mark is guiding me through this very choppy waters.
He has the information you're looking for on the number of vehicles and things.
I
like
have
that.
not directly asked that question without your permission. If I will, then I will ask those questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
that information.
I don't want to go inside a negotiation without your permission. So. Okay.
I think you're really looking at continuing current staff and getting some advice from programming as to what additional staff might be necessary.
There's an area that I'm not going to look at, and that is regular instruction. I think the union contract will tell me what that's going to be, and I have a copy of the new union contract, so I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm only concerned about things that would change. Okay. Special ed, for example.
Do you have are you foreseeing how you think those would change?
I'm not going to guess.
Currently, we are paying what, 10.4 million to Wyndham?
We are
to the
paying
RSU?
$10.4 million to Wyndham.
So you're
To
basing
the RSU, I should say.
to the
Let's
RSU,
Be clear, yeah.
and so you're basing your current budget on that 10.4 million?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. I learned a long time ago that zero budgeting is a lot better than building budgeting.
Okay.
So I'm trying to zero budget this.
Okay.
Okay. And I think it'll work better that way, especially in the area of special ed.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just so people know, we currently are paying 10.4
We are paying
million.
$10.4 million per year for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how many students is that? Around
I don't have that
700?
number right off my head,
And I think
458.
we want to be clear that that's to serve our students, I mean,
Right.
the students that live here. It's not
Right.
to serve other students in.
No, that's not true. It's to serve, that's the high school also.
That's your
Yeah.
entire share.
That's
That's
entire
our
share.
entire share,
That's
based on valuation.
Right.
Right. Which
Right.
went up,
And
which
population.
Went,
Right.
Which went up 921,000 this year.
Because of valuation, that's correct.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, valuation plus increase in budget.
Yeah, they built in some number in budget, but most of it
But I
is
mean,
valuation,
because
right,
our valuation went up last year.
$1 million.
Do we know how that would affect Title I funding?
Historically, we haven't gotten much back.
I'm sorry, what was the question, so I can hear it?
How valuation would affect our Title I funding at all?
I mean,
I don't think-
historically, we didn't, you know,
No.
I think we were a
In the-
5% receiver.
yeah, I mean, in the last full budget that we had on our own, we only got about $200,000 or $300,000 from the state.
The ED,
Oh, yeah.
She's talking about, she's actually talking about entitlement
Right.
funding
Yeah.
beyond general
Right.
purpose aid.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
probably should look, I'd be happy to look into that, Marshall, if you'd
well,
want.
we asked for and received an ED 279 to Raymond only, and it showed 0. So I'm not anticipating a bunch of state help here at all.
Hey, you still look like, kind of on schedule for January.
The two balls in the air that I'm not comfortable with right now, because I haven't heard anything, is technology. I really don't want to push too hard on that, because
Yeah.
it's a very complicated, my fear would they come out, oh yeah, it's $8 million, fine. Well, they're throwing me a number, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kevin would do that. I think Kevin would dig in and find out for sure. So technology, December 31st is my cutoff date. I need to move forward on a couple things after that. Programming would be one, operation and maintenance, I think we can have a handle on that, but technology might be a little kicker. Okay. And then I can start getting into things like special ed and transportation and things. Transportation is gonna be pretty easy. We have 5 buses, this is what it's gonna cost, and that's the end of that, but special ed is a little different.
Mhm. Any questions on where we are budget?
Nothing from the clan of 4 over there?
Oh, I can, do I need to?
Go ahead, please, please.
Do I need to?
Yes,
go-
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do, because that way it gets, that way
Do I need to
the
give my
mic pick,
name
the
and
mic pick.
address?
Yes, you
Yeah.
do. Social security number, date of birth.
Susan Brackett, 47 Plummer Drive.
Yep.
So I was just listening to the Title I piece, and my understanding is that we currently receive a lot of Title I funding as a result of being combined with Wyndham. And so if we were to separate, then we would most likely lose that funding, and that would impact the students greatly.
First off, I'm not sure how much we receive without looking at the formula. And second off, I cannot see us cutting out that portion of funding just because we don't get it from the state. I think that would be unreasonable of us to do that. And I see that being built into a normal budget without state reimbursement. The other one is Medicare, Medicaid, and special ed is the same type of issue. Okay.
Other questions?
Thanks.
There we go, yeah, good follow-up. So the program subcommittee did meet. Susan is on that committee, so feel free to go back up and do all your credentials if I say something wrong. You know, some of the things that it's really helpful to have Susan on this committee and part of this work, because one, she's in the community, she's a teacher, she was part of this when we were just Raymond and part of it now. So, I mean, the wealth of, talk about historical knowledge with all of this, which I'm certainly lacking, she has it, so it's great to have that. She was also able to kind of talk to some of the teachers and kind of get their feedback for what they're thinking when it comes to withdrawal. I do think it's really important for folks to know that there is, you know, from that side of what we're hearing, there's no teacher that says we should do this. There's no teacher that wants it back the way it was before. And it was certainly mentioned that it was a rocky, forced agreement for a while, but things have really worked out well. So some of the programming things that we did talk about, we didn't mention this one, but I thought of it after. The Jump Start program and the Bridge program are amazing programs for our youngest learners. So it's a summer program where they get bused to Wyndham to get a head start, to get a jump start on their letters and sounds and readings. I mean, it just really sets such an amazing foundation for them, which we all know is really key. And then that Bridge program, which is from kindergarten to first grade. And I know that the school board would be happy to provide numbers of how many Raymond students that they are servicing with that. But that would be something that we would certainly want to make sure that we don't lose for our youngest kiddos, because in my line of work, I work in education, that is so important. The district just implemented a new math program, which is going over relatively well, I think. Change is hard. So that's something that we want to make sure that we have budgeting for. There's a writing program. We have the Lucy Calkins writing program that has been in place for a while. It's the writing program that our students also would use if they went on to Wyndham High School. So to get rid of that would put our kids at a disadvantage. I mean, it's a wonderful program, a disadvantage to the high school that they will most likely be heading on to. There are reading programs, spelling programs. The middle school supplies all of the kids with an agenda when they get there. Again, I get it that these are little things, but they certainly add up. Some other things, the special education room uses a program called Linda Moodbell for literacy and math. One thing that's really, I thought was great was our music program. We have one of the few string music programs in the state. And all of our music and band instructors are trained experts that are being employed full-time. So as you're starting to look at budget stuff, if we're looking at a part-time music teacher or band instructor to split between two schools, you're going to lose that person that's really put gotten their education in this as far as being professionally trained. And in the past, it was a part-time position that was really this revolving door. I mean, that's just in my opinion, and you all know where I stand on this, is not something that we want for our kids. Our kids at the middle school level have access to sports that they would not if they were at JS. They have swimming, they have field hockey, they have skiing. These are all competitive level sports that it would be like at the middle school level, not recreation sports.
Are you classifying those as extracurricular,
Yeah.
or are they programming?
Well, I mean, I think all of this is part of what we want for our
Well, I'd
kids'
like a
education.
definition on what you're doing, because some of this you have, I mean, I agree with the Bridge program. Okay, my wife is involved in that. But that's programming, that's not extracurricular. So if you're going to bring in sports, then would you
Yeah, but
define
we
that
also
as?
talked last time about, there was a complaint that now our kiddos have to pay to do recreation, and that used to be they have to pay to get the ski bus.
Yeah, I think there was a misunderstanding.
And that
there.
used to be part of the budget. So
Right.
I'm just going over everything that we want to make sure is included
Okay,
in this
I'm
budget.
going to tackle
So
that one, and I'm going to let you know.
I got grief last time because I didn't do enough, so I guess I'm just going to make
Okay.
sure I cover my bases here.
We do not want to pay for the use of the gym, period.
Yeah, but we would need to add into budget if December 31st is your drop dead time.
For you, yeah, for
Yeah,
programming.
so then I'm gonna spew everything that I want.
Only for her.
Only for her.
Bad meaning, only for her.
What just Kate has to do.
So I'm covering my bases.
Okay.
The curriculum connections that would be lost, I don't know how that, that, again, things that we're thinking of. Budget-wise for teachers, they have a larger classroom budget now. They have more resources. When it was just a Raymond district, there were some really impactful budget freezes that happened to classroom teachers. They have only had, one paper freeze, right? So we just had to cut down on paper a little bit. And then we do have the nutrition program in here that we would want to make sure that we still continue to have a school nutritionist as leading the head of that and leading that program and having that consultation.
What do you envision that to look like?
Well, I'd like it to look exactly like it does.
Which is?
We
They have to help me out here,
we
'cause I
have
don't go to
Jeannie
school.
Riley, who runs our school nutrition program.
Mhm.
She's, you know, a certified school nutritionist, so we would want that. I mean, it's an acclaimed program for these kids, and food and making sure that our kids are fed healthy, good food is key. So that's, I think, that in a nutshell.
Okay, so I'll tell you one thing I'm hearing, is there's absolutely no complaints about anything at the school, everything is fine, there's nothing that you want that you don't get.
Right. That's what I heard.
That's what I just heard. Is that the case? Yes.
I was on the committee, Sarah Davis, I live on 85 Tenny Hill Road in Raymond. And the only thing that I had added to the
yes.
program that we don't get as much as I'd like to see is like continuing STEM programs.
Thank you.
There doesn't seem to be a ton of STEM education.
Right.
And then also like technology-based education, since those will be the jobs of the future. I think that's an evolving sort of curriculum that we should pay attention to.
Thank you, Sarah.
The STEM program that I looked at in the winter budget was very poor. The funding for it was very poor. And I have my own personal agenda on programming, which I will not relay here, but I will tell you that STEM was number 2. So, I've been a school teacher, high school level, for 13 years. I understand what happens in those schools.
So where are you going from here?
She's going to reduce that to writing and send it to you.
I have it written, so.
You send it to the chair, please?
I mean, but where, I mean, you've had the one meeting, so, what's your follow-on agenda?
I guess what more do you need from us?
I think
don't know. What else would you like from us? I shouldn't word it sounding so
I think
harsh.
what I would like to do, if you would send that to you, a lot of the items that you hit, I already have, okay? And I agree with 99% of them. In fact, I think you're a little thin in a couple of areas. I would like you to send it to the chair. I would like an opportunity to look at it, and by next meeting, I'll get back to you with a series of questions. Why do you need this at this level? Why isn't it at this level? And things like that. And then we can assign numbers to it. Okay?
The other thing, I mean, if, Mark is available
Right.
as a resource too, to come and sit in those meetings and say, listen, here's what's happened in other places that, the before and after snapshot and things like that, programs that because of the split were able to be added and improved and things like that. And, I think, everything everything I'm hearing is, well, we don't want to lose that, we don't want to lose that, but I haven't heard anything about, gee,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to be able to improve upon this or that or the other thing.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for as well, because at the end of the day, if we can do more, then that's better for us as well.
I think what's happening here is you might be pre-screening expenses on the idea that I'm gonna come down with a big fat axe. And that's not gonna happen. I have ideas along with Rolf. I think you're a little thin on program. I think there's more you could do.
Caitlin LaCase, 47 Tenny Hill Road. Thank you all for the work you're doing. One thing that, just a brainstorm while you're brainstorming programming, I don't know if this is the right forum for this or if I should send it to you separately, but I'll just do it now anyway. Would love to see, wherever this goes, consideration for more outdoor and nature-based learning and experiences in the schools, whether it's an outdoor classroom or two, which I don't even know if it has to be a physical space, and training for teachers to leverage this gorgeous area where we live in the surrounding areas. Can the science classes be going out to the frog? They probably already are, but in more ways for the kids to get outside during the day would be good.
During the school year?
During the school year, yeah, like during
the
the
school
school, every
day.
day. Forest Fridays.
Fifth graders used to go to Chilwaukee every year for like a week. Do they still do that?
But it should be like an everyday, it should be
No?
part of the culture every day.
Other side of the highway, they did. Really outside of Florida. When I was in Freeport, they did that.
We used to do it here.
They used to do it, they did it here.
I think it was fifth graders that
Fifth
would
grade
go.
was the week.
Wasn't a week, I
A
think it was.
week at Chilwaukee.
5 days, yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a great program for
Overnight.
that.
but Raymond used to do that. And
We
I
used to
don't know
sit-
when they stopped it.
We used to send our kids to Camp Kiev for the same thing,
Yeah.
same idea.
Yeah, what if-
I did mean more like every day, just built into the school day culture, getting the kids outside more.
They start strings at 4th grade,
5th grade.
5th grade?
Fifth?
I think a string program is essential. Personally.
String.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay,
It's painful in my house right now.
My wife's a fiddle player, and she says if it's not fun, it's firewood.
other questions or comments on the program side?
I just look at it as 10.4 million. I think we could do a lot. And I don't see anything that was mentioned that
No, I
isn't
don't either.
possible.
No? And I think there's more that could be added to that, that
Yeah.
are still possible.
Right.
We'll see what they come up with.
Wait, sorry, I have one more. Going along with this STEM, like more tinkering, hands-on stuff, especially in the early grades. I saw at the middle school, there was like a maker station. That's great, but it would be awesome if the kids could be doing that on a weekly basis, starting younger, tinkering.
Nobody's talked about gifted and talented yet.
Less testing.
Nobody's gonna talk about gifted and talented.
Does that exist? We're not.
Because what?
I don't know.
Home right now. And I have a 3rd grader who is, both my children are very intelligent. My 3rd grader in particular is extremely intelligent but extremely active, and has had amazing teachers and a really solid education. With respect to the nutrition program, we've been written up on our nutrition program, and that all stems from a school nutritionist, and that's an important thing to have. And you know, so I think we approached it with that. I think that we feel like, because our kids are in the system, Kate's kids, my kids, Susan's kids are in the system, so we are pretty happy with the education. And I think that may be one of the short-sightedness on this committee is I believe Kate is the only one with kids in the system. So I think maybe instead of attacking Kate because she doesn't have the same view as you all, you should embrace and listen to her. I forgot my civility pin today, but I really wanted to bring it because
I think I have one.
Okay, well, we all need one because I've watched every one of your meetings, and the way in which she's treated is just really not acceptable. It comes from one person directed at her. Nobody else goes through this sort of rigmarole with respect to their ideas with One Raymond or their ideas with, I sat down and met with the town manager. Nobody is challenged as much as she is, and I believe it is because she comes with a different view. And so I just ask whoever's leading, whoever's the chair, I thought it was Teresa, but maybe it's you, Rolf, to be cognizant of the decorum and how it looks when, you know, you're really only attacking one member on a committee who's working really hard, and frankly as hard as probably you all are, whether you think so or not.
Oh, I like to say, I don't think I've attacked anyone. I kind of sit here and listen. And I don't, you know, just because
It
you're
wasn't you.
just because you're trying to have a conversation with someone and try and get their feelings doesn't mean you're attacking them. And just because I don't have kids in the school anymore, I think I've kind of been around Raymond for quite a while and watched the school grow, and I've watched a lot of kids come through the schools. Just because I don't have kids in the schools doesn't mean I don't care about schools. I haven't heard anything that says to me, we can't do exactly what we have right now for the amount of money that we're paying right now.
And on the flip side, I haven't heard anything that says you're gonna achieve some great benefit for less money or
Well,
less taxable
my-
based on the town. I haven't heard that either, and that's what I'm
Well,
listening for.
But
Well,
that's
well,
actually,
that's
that's actually what we're
coming
hoping to
down the
come out
road.
of, that's what
Yeah.
we're looking for coming out of the programming group is
Right.
saying, hey, you know, here's where we are now, here's things we could do better or things that we could add there. And now build those in there and let's see what we can do there. So, I mean, you know, you haven't heard it because it hasn't been presented to us
Right.
yet.
Right,
And I'm-
so you're looking for one outcome you haven't proved, and that's okay. But I'm looking for another outcome that hasn't been proved, and that's not okay. I mean, There's a very, very slighted.
I'm sitting here with an open mind. I did this, what, 5 years ago?
Mhm.
And we came out to the conclusion it wasn't worth leaving at that time.
Right.
That was 5 years ago.
Now it is.
And now here we are in the same spot, and I haven't made up my mind. I'm sitting here thinking, can we do what we do, have better control of what we do? Because right now, we don't have any control. Having a 6-3 divided school board does not give you control. You're pretty much told how it's gonna be. No one really looks at finances. We got hit with, what, a $921,000 increase this year? In Raymond, just Raymond. People's taxes went up over 5% in Raymond. That's a huge increase. Now, if we can do that, provide the same experience to our children, I would think if we have better local control and maybe do it for a little less, or at least be able to flat fund it, what's wrong with looking at it?
Let me jump in here by saying that when I build this budget, I am not afraid to come in with a higher number, and I'm not afraid to defend it. Okay? Because my numbers, I'm pretty sure I'll be solid in all the numbers, and if it takes 50,000 to do this and we don't have 50,000, I'll stand up there and defend it. And then it's up to the town.
Yeah.
I think that some of the concern too is looking at the staffing that like, how do you have some of the staffing that we have? I mean, we would likely, and I don't know because I'm not 100% sure on the budget, if we're looking at part-time superintendent. You know, some of those costs that might kind of water things down a little bit. I mean, I don't want a part-time superintendent who's retired and now is just doing this for the heck of it and is not caring as much of our kids as Chris Howell, who is like an amazing an administrator. Well, that's your opinion. I can tell you that in my world and across the state, that man is extremely well respected, and we are very lucky to have him. So
my job is to build one budget. When I put that when the town puts that budget into effect in June 21, then a new school board takes in, and then they make decisions from then on. My job is to get you on the playing field, and that's it. If the school recommends, as they did in past years, they want a part-time superintendent, that's not our call. That's the school board's call.
but then
If you want us to build in a full-time superintendent, then I'll build it into the budget, and we'll see what it costs.
But doesn't and correct me if I'm wrong on this, the school, if we were to withdraw, the school board would make a budget recommendation to the select board, correct?
In budget committee.
Right,
And then it
in
goes-
budget
it's
committee.
voted- Then it's voted
Right.
on by the town.
Right.
Does the budget committee take a pass at it? Do they?
Oh, sure they
can
do.
yeah,
Oh, sure they
so
do.
that's-
Yep, sure they do. I mean,
Think-
you and I sat on that
I
budget
think
committee
the
doing school.
uncertainty of that is a concern.
Why?
Why?
Do you not trust, I mean, these are elected people to the
Right.
Budget Finance Committee. Do you just not trust their decision-making?
Can you give us a primer on how it works now, budget-wise, versus how it would work if you were to withdraw?
Right now what happens is the RSU develops a budget. It gets presented to a budget hearing of which about
Right.
20 people show up.
For both towns?
Right.
It then goes to a final budget vote, which, again, I think the last time there was like 32 people showed up and voted for that. It then gets voted on as a referendum at each town as to whether they approve that. If the referendum comes out no, total between the two towns, then it has to go back and be reworked. Moving forward, if we separate, what happens is the school board develops a budget. It goes through public hearings, it then would also get looked at by the town budget finance committee. And then we'll move from there to the town meeting with a recommendation from the school board and a recommendation from the budget committee as far as what those numbers would be. And then the town has the final vote on what that number is.
Who's currently on that budget committee?
Currently, you've got.
It's on the website, but
I'm a
top of the
member.
page right off, yeah.
What's that?
I
He's on
got
it.
written in as a member
He's on
this
it.
past year.
So
Bob
you've got,
Goslin, Sheila Burke, Kevin Oliver,
Bob Goslin.
Karen Lockwood.
Karen
yeah,
Lockwood.
Karen Lockwood, Dan Jardins,
And do any of them have kids in the system currently?
Kevin Oliver.
Kevin
does.
Oliver.
Kevin Oliver does.
Who's the
All
Rogers,
the-
who's the Rogers
Also
girl?
have kids
The
in
Rogers
system
girl
should
has one.
start joining some of these committees too. We think
Wow,
that's
All
thank
that's,
important.
everybody else
Please.
that's on there has had kids through the,
Right.
as in almost all the committees in town, has had kids that have been through the systems.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I've got to ask that you go over here, otherwise we can't hear it on the tape, I'm sorry. If you can just come, I'm sorry.
My only suggestion is if we were to move to withdrawal is to consider involving the, a designated member of the select board in the school budget process earlier. So it's not just the school board developing the budget, but perhaps there's a member of the select board as part of that process.
All three committees would have a piece of it.
Perfect,
School
okay.
board, selectmen, and budget finance.
Got it, understood.
But there's certain statutes that underlie a bunch of it as far as what the, where lines of responsibility flow. And the school board has the responsibility to develop the budget and then to run the budget. And as far as developing, as far as working programs, as far, it's the same as what's happening now under the RSU, other than the fact that it would be a committee that's all town residents, and they're really just dealing with the, essentially programs and whatnot in the elementary school and the middle school, because the high school would be tuitioning out to the high school, so that's still going to fall under the receiving schools programs and things like that.
I think the aim of the budget would be to present some reasonable numbers, high or low, to get us back to the schools of excellence where we were years ago, and not the C-rated schools that we have now.
Susan Brackett, 47 Plummer Drive. I just have a request, and maybe you're planning on doing it this way. I don't know. But when the budget is more finalized, something that I would be really interested to see looked at, or what would class sizes be?
I'm not touching a union contract. I have nothing to do with union contract, I'm not gonna touch it.
A union contract wouldn't determine class size. That
They
that
don't?
is a policy set by the school
I
board.
thought they did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not touching that either.
I mean, so,
Well,
so who you elect?
can I just speak what I would
Yeah.
like to see?
Yep.
That I think that this would be important information for people to hear. So moving forward, when we're creating a budget, what are we looking at for class sizes? What are we looking at for support professionals? We currently have special ed coaches and directors. We currently have a writing coach, a math coach. I mean, these are specifics that are going to directly impact the students, and I think that's something that's really important to be kind of itemized, so that people can really see what they're voting for. It's kind of hard when you see the lump sums in the budget and to know exactly what is going with what. So that's just something that I would like to see.
Okay, I have looked at, and I will not get involved in what's called regular instruction on the budget, which is you. That includes support staff at Tech 3s, 2s, 1, whatever it is. And then, but I sincerely think that there are some areas in the special ed department that could be a little bit less than what they are now, because I think Wyndham is laying some costs into the district that really don't apply in Raymond. Okay. I hear you about physical therapy, occupational therapy, writing coaches, speech coaches. I hear you. Okay.
But the Raymond School Committee always had policies on class size.
Right. I thought it was.
And
what
we
is it,
had some of the
17?
smallest,
I have 24 to 27.
Well, I thought it was less than that.
it used to be a whole lot less than
Yeah.
that. What grade you teach?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Because I remember kindergarten was 12,
I thought at one point it was 21.
and I thought it was around 18.
I thought it was 18 to 21.
Yeah.
It's increased over the years.
Right,
Yeah, well.
right. So, see,
But that's important, and again, I'm sorry. No, that's okay.
Take the mic with you.
I just think that people need to know what they're voting for. So, I mean, that is really important to a lot of people, are the class sizes. So are we, if we separate, are we looking to lower those class sizes? And where are we gonna get the money to do that? Are we looking to increase services in one area? I mean, I just think it needs to be laid out there. So, if we were to stay with the RSU, here's what staffing is gonna look like, here's what educational programs are gonna look like. If we separate, here's what staffing's gonna look like, class sizes are gonna look like, education programs are gonna look like. So that way we can really compare and see line to line.
I think that is the intent of this committee. I do. There's this fear that we're gonna go back to a
Yeah.
one-room schoolhouse
Right.
with no electronics. And that is not what we want, or at least not what I want. And
That's not what I want either.
I'm speaking for myself. I want a really good education for kids in Raymond, because if we make Raymond education what it used to be, and it attracts young families here, and people move to Raymond for a reason, and that's good for the town.
So I've heard a lot of references to the School of Excellence thing. I would love, as programs, I'd love to see the criteria for that, because maybe that's some stuff that we can build into the budget.
I'll give you the person that was the superintendent when that was going on.
Because my thought is that it's something that probably isn't even necessarily around anymore.
I don't think it is around.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
so for us to say that we want to get back to that, well, it's kind of impossible.
We want to get back to a higher level of where we are.
Right.
And I understand the C grade, but I also think we need to be really transparent in that, and that was something that was issued, 7 or 8 years ago
No,
by a
ma'am.
previous
No, ma'am.
administration,
No,
where
ma'am.
97% of the schools in the state of Maine received that grade. I can't, you might have been at Oxford Hills when that happened, but it was a dark cloud on a lot of schools, and it was not, most people got that dark cloud, so I think we
Have you
need to
done
just.
internet research on school grading?
I have. I am not a ratings person. I think they're quite
Pretty
arbitrary.
subjective.
And I know that Sarah has done a lot of research on it.
Tell us, Sarah.
I heard your comments, so I took some time to look at your
Good,
comments.
good.
It's a little bit difficult to match up perfectly because Raymond is obviously K through, Raymond Elementary is K through 4, and then the middle school
Right,
is
and Wyndham Primary. is-
Wyndham Primary in Manchester. You can't really match them up, but I'll tell you what I did discover is that we have excelled in reading and writing, which is consistent with what I see with programming for my kids.
We meaning?
Raymond, sorry.
Right,
We,
thank you.
us. Have excelled in reading and writing,
Right.
which is consistent with the programming I see in the education. I
Right.
see a lot of focus on reading and writing. Wyndham fared better in math, which is consistent. I don't see a lot of focus on math. I know we're doing a whole new curriculum now, so I don't tend to speak about the future, but currently what I've seen. And then, the reason our schools did better, and she hit exactly on it, was class sizes. We have lower class sizes, and if we really want to improve that, if we can bring down that 24 back to a 12 to 18 to 16, you get a lot of points for that student to teacher ratio.
And I'm all for that, because I really thought it was 17.
Yeah.
When we were dealing with
Yeah.
the budget 6-7 years ago, I thought it was 17. And
Yeah.
24, I think, is a little high.
Yeah, 24 is extremely high.
But
But,
if you-
you get a lot of points for that in
Right.
addition to the scoring. And we fare better than the state, but not much better, let's say,
But if-
than the
but
state
if-
average.
If you look at the rankings, though, if you take the RSU and then you
Mhm.
take Jordan Small and RES out of it, those are two shining stars in that system.
But
And
when
we
you
wanna
dig
stay
into
that.
those, when you dig
Right.
into those numbers, that's what I'm telling
Now
you,
you're
the
gonna
test
defeat your own
scoring.
comments.
What's that?
You're gonna defeat your own comment now.
The test scoring on reading and writing was better in the Raymond schools. It was the math scoring was better
Right.
in the Wyndham schools, but the big thing that catapulted us ahead was class size.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's fine.
yeah, so it doesn't mean the programming is not okay, and frankly, just because I know, well, I don't know the future, but I think I know where the jobs of the future are, I would like to see us excelling in math and science. I would love to see that, I would love to see our women excelling in math and science.
Well, I think you're right about the STEM program. It's
Yeah.
early week right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
historically, Raymond has done very well sending our kids to Wyndham High School where they have excelled.
Right.
If you look at the top 10 in Wyndham over the years, a lot of those kids
Come
are
from
from Raymond. And we want to get back.
Yeah,
Well, at
get
least
back there.
I think the goal is to get back to those days where our kids do better.
Well, and I'll just say, if you look at the Wyndham Eagle and the NYA, you know, Raymond kids tend to be the top of those classes too.
Right.
That's part of what I love. I think we're really lucky. We have the opportunity to enter an RSU, but we have school choice. That's what attracted me. I mean, I've only been here 5 or 6 years, and I love it. I don't have an issue with the RSU because I have the opportunity to make decisions at the higher levels, and that makes it really nice.
I mean, I am a big believer that you start your kids out well when they're young, and they will excel
Right.
when they get to high school.
I don't disagree, but I do think we have a fair amount of control there, I think more than we think. And I've gone to the school board on 2 separate issues and had a tremendous amount of success. I didn't get everything I wanted, but when we said, listen, this is an issue for our kids in Raymond, they listened and sat with us. I don't know that it's true that we don't have a voice now. I know it's true, as you were pointing out earlier, nobody's really doing a very good job of using our voice because only 20 people show up. That's not meaning you all, but the public at large. We don't show up. We don't show up to school board meetings. We don't show up to budget meetings. We don't show up here, frankly. If you guys have a budget meeting, you're not going to get more than 20.
But don't you
Yeah.
have faith in elected officials to
I
do
really
the right
don't,
thing?
and I'm sorry. I'm
Huh?
wicked conservative that way. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. Doesn't resonate with me, and that's no offense to all of you all. I just
Well-
I don't think the government runs anything better, and in
Well-
either case, we're stuck with the government. So I
Well,
don't
people
really.
have busy lives, and
Yeah.
so they don't come out at night to a meeting. I mean, we're all volunteers here, but we have a belief system, and you try and incorporate that, and you believe that people who elected you have the faith in you to make the right decision based on your experience. And I think I bring experience, and I think I bring an open mind. At least I like to think I do. Some people may not think so. But, you know, I'm learning every time I come to one of these meetings.
Sure, but the beauty in local control is the real democracy, right? De
Right.
Tocqueville style, the
Absolutely.
town meeting, so if local control and it's still left in the elected officials, you're really no better off than the state because those are elected officials. So
Yeah.
I really would love to see more engagement and process, and it kind of felt wrong, to be perfectly honest, in this, that there was sort of an off election, like, you know, it wasn't held in a November election, that this was decided. I think that's where people are coming in a little skeptical.
Well, there were rules in there also.
Yeah,
There
That's-
wasn't a rule though about when we
Yes.
had to vote.
Yes.
I
Yes, there
I would
was.
love to see it because I
If you
did look
go
at
to-
the
go to the,
states. I
Mark
looked
and-
at the withdrawal
Mark,
steps.
what, in
There's a day
the
limit.
separation thing, how many days after the
Day limit.
petition is approved do you have to have the vote?
That's a Dan question.
Dan?
I didn't see it, so
It's
I would
like
love to
60
see it.
days.
Yeah, I don't.
60
I don't-
sounds right, but, yeah.
I
There
think
was,
that's
there
right.
was a,
There is a law
there is a,
that tells
it's in
you.
the,
Well,
it's in
I
the
know there's a
separation.
law, but,
You're
you
talking
know,
about the
that was
initial
brought
vote?
and kind of
Yeah.
crammed in.
The vote to
Just telling
send
you
it
where people are
down.
coming
Yeah.
from, right?
Yep.
That's how they get skeptical.
Yep.
So I mean, it wasn't an arbitrary decision on
No,
our
no,
part
no.
to have that on
No,
that
but
date.
it was
It's-
said-
It's driven by when the,
But it was said at a meeting, because I sat here watching it, that they wanted that, a certain person wanted that vote to happen as soon as it possibly could. I mean, I just remember them looking at Sue and saying, when can we get the notice in the paper and get it done? And really, that just smells sneaky to me. Because you're trying to say, well, let's do it before the folks maybe educate themselves or word gets out, and it was done. And I think that's a really bad feeling that a lot of people still hold
and,
on
you know,
to.
and that's, and that falsity has been proliferated around, that, you know, that a vote was rammed down people's throat without, the vote, it all comes from the statute, the separation statute that says within X number of days of the certification of the petition, then a vote will be
Yeah,
held.
I didn't see it on the state stuff, but I will admit that that's
Yeah,
probably,
it's in
reading
there.
that legal stuff is not my area of expertise.
Really?
Any chance
So
I
I'd
could
love
jump
to,
in?
if Dan finds it, I'd love to hear.
I mean, I don't think it is spending a lot of time going back is gonna be helpful. I found the conversation tonight to be very helpful
Yes.
in regard to the types of things that need to be in this budget. And I haven't heard that before, so I'm really excited to hear about writing coaches and math coaches and string programs and stuff like that. What I understand from the budget committee at this point is Marshall saying we're really not gonna touch regular ed. I think his intent was we're gonna keep that intact,
Right.
okay?
Right. And all the stuff
and
under that umbrella.
Everything that's under that umbrella now, we don't want to go away.
No.
Now, if there are some things that are not under that umbrella, like writing coaches, Title I concerns me because the state has changed some of the rules around Title I. We've run into that in other districts where they haven't played fair, in my judgment. So we'll try to address that in the withdrawal agreement. But the feedback has been good tonight, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate it for hearing people on the front lines especially. And class size at 27 makes me a little concerned, how much support staff was in there to help. So to me, this has been very profitable at this point, and I'm looking forward to seeing Katie's report here so we can make sure we've got these things built in. Now, that doesn't mean you have to vote for it. You got one
No,
vote,
it's
I don't
not.
have a
Right.
vote, okay? You do. And when you get to that point and understand exactly what's in that budget, and I think targeting total final budget is, you know, we're really more looking like April or May. I mean, you'd like to get all the components in when we can, but under statute now, there must be a fair estimate of a budget as part of the withdrawal agreement. So, you know, you're gonna know all this information before you act on that agreement.
And my
So-
target date is to be able to present not a detailed, but a very thorough overview to the last Budget Finance Committee meeting this cycle, so they know it's coming next year. Because I wouldn't want to hit them cold next year. So
If
that would be
withdrawal
my
passes.
target, and I believe that to be April 20th, perhaps, somewhere in there.
It hasn't been set yet.
Yeah, but it'll be right at April 20th. So that's my drop dead date. So
It's in the 23 step, but
Yes.
Yeah.
the date, those dates are,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I'm looking at the
statutes-
statute, I'm not seeing the
no,
specific.
it was in the
timeframe.
it was in the
Yeah.
23 step.
I think it's on the website, too.
Yeah.
I think you put it on there. There's an area that I haven't heard a word about, and that is security. Anybody have any comments on building security?
Yeah, we need to switch where our front office staff is, and that's something that the RSU is discussing right now. Because I think the way that our school is set up there, you know, you don't get in right away. Our school secretaries are amazing gatekeepers. I just experienced the other day I couldn't let Megan in behind me. I was picking up my daughter. But there needs to be, there's been some talks about moving some stuff around in both Jordan Small and RES.
The visitors come into an airlock,
They come into like the foyer there, yes.
and that's locked on both sides, and then somebody has to buzz them in?
Yep.
They both,
It's not locked on the
It's not locked
outside.
on the outside.
You walk through one set of
but you can
doors.
only get into that
And-
first door,
yeah,
you
and
can't
then-
get into the
right.
second door
And then
without
you-
being identified.
Right.
You have to be buzzed in, yeah.
You do not have an RSO over there, right?
No, but that is actually, and I will add this to my
Yes,
list. That is
please.
something that there is
Please.
being talked about, is
Because that's on
adding
my list.
a resource officer.
RSO.
Yep.
Okay. I'm done. Thank you.
You think?
No, you're just beginning.
Sorry.
Other questions? Yeah.
I just want to, cause I heard, I work in special education.
Good.
So I was a little
Good for you.
concerned when I heard that, you know, that's one of the areas, cause in all the budgets, I know makes up 85–90% of a lot of the school budgets. I've worked in other districts, and I currently work, in RSU 14, and I haven't, interesting position where I work mostly in Raymond, but I'm also in Wyndham, one of those positions that's shared throughout the district.
As what?
I'm a site coordinator and a special ed coach.
Okay.
So I oversee a lot of the special ed
Okay.
programs. There is such a shortage of special ed teachers, like high quality special ed teachers, graduating from our universities. There's just such a shortage. It's really hard to keep good teachers. The program that we have up here, the programs that we have in our district are fantastic. We have a lot of people that come here and they stay here. We have a lot of resources. Whatever our students need, I feel like they get a really, really solid education. I'm really impressed with our programs here. Once people start working here, they tend to stay. We don't have the turnover that a lot of districts have.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's a very hard.
And so but I think a lot of it's because we have the resources and we have the staff and we can have the lower numbers to really target the instruction that the students need. So I know that that's an area that you had mentioned, that there might be, I don't want to say fluff, but.
I'm going to give you one area, okay, and that's out-of-district placements. We're paying a lot of freight for out-of-district placements, and I don't want to know from you, but I'm not sure all of that belongs in Raymond. You know what I mean? Okay, so there's one area. Special Olympics, I'm all for Special Olympics, but I know that Raymond was not invited to the Cumberland County Special Olympics for some reason, I don't know, so they used to go to Androscoggin. When Patty Mensch was over here, she used to take those kids over to Androscoggin. Do you still do that Special Olympics, or?
John Calvert.
See?
Yeah, there are some,
They
yeah.
still do Special Olympics.
Well, and I know-
Overnight thing, I think it's up at Orono, right?
Usually.
I could
Well,
be
that's
wrong
the
if
state, but they also have the other
Oh,
county and
okay.
then the state.
We also.
I don't know the specifics of it, but I know I've seen pictures and I've, of kids participating in it, but I don't
Okay.
know.
That's an
at what
area that
level.
could be improved.
Yeah, and I know that
Okay.
because we now have a program back at the school in Raymond that our guys are going with the Raymond self-contained programs, and they're doing swim all together.
Perfect.
So there's a lot of really good stuff happening. So I
And
just wanted to,
really don't want to take anything away from that.
Missed it, but could you state your name and your address, please?
absolutely, I totally did not start with that. Karen McMullen at 735 Webster Mills
I'm
Road.
sorry.
Thank you.
Did you find it in there at all?
I didn't see it in either the 22 steps or the statute, a specific time frame on that initial vote. So I'm just not seeing it.
At least I feel better about my reading skills.
I mean, because it wasn't an arbitrary decision, it was based on.
No, it was based.
There
Right.
was, there's, and, well, I'll check the old notes.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
it may have been in reference to the municipal statutes, the 38, 25, 28, which is when there's a petition for a referendum, it shall be placed on the next.
Well,
Which it
but there
wasn't, it was a
there was
special.
definitely a day, a timing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's really where it came
Yeah.
down from, because, once the petition was certified, then you
Mhm.
had a certain amount of time in order to have that next step.
Yeah.
And then it, also dealt with, because it was in around that same thing of when you had to send a letter of notice to the, and it may have come from, when you had to send a letter of notice to the DOE on
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And everything kind of tied in there, and one forces the other.
Yeah, once the commissioner is notified, he then begins to take a active role in setting the schedule.
Other questions on that before we close this part of the meeting?
If you have anything, please, because I'm all by myself doing this.
I have one more thing.
And I'm a big boy, but I'm all by myself.
Since we're
Except for Mark, I'm
waving
sorry.
magic wands and making wish lists, Keaton LaCase, 47 Tenny Hill Road. Right now, there's no science curriculum until 3rd grade, or at least delineated in the curriculum folders, and I'm sure that there's a specific reason as to why, but we've heard several times tonight that perhaps science and math is the future. So if signs could, while we're waving magic wands,
Put in
Right.
starting earlier.
STEM and strings, I think, should start in second grade.
Kindergarten.
Well, it's a little early to hold a violin, but then it becomes an axe. My wife is a pre-K teacher at Fiddlehead School, and she does strings in second grade, and it's great. Every kid takes strings. Every kid.
Oh, and, sorry, when do languages start?
4th grade?
Oh, they do.
No, not in fourth grade.
I was gonna say
Really?
not fifth.
No, not in fourth, seven.
Wow, that's late.
While we're
Wow.
while we're
It
writing
used to be 4th
Yeah,
grade.
it
while
used
we're
to be
writing our
4.
wish lists,
Please,
languages.
please.
Go to the mic.
Oh,
Can we put 4th grade?
I wrote it down.
or as soon as possible, languages.
Well, 4th grade.
Which language?
Well,
Which language?
I mean, there's no, if we're gonna start at fourth, there's no reason not to start it earlier, that you retain it earlier, I would imagine, but I don't, if we're writing wish lists. I am sure there are people more qualified than I am to suggest which languages would be most helpful. Mandarin?
Russian. Well, don't be, that's, should be. Yeah. Chinese business, big
Mandarin
business.
and Spanish probably.
And I'll just respectfully dissent from maybe the strings in second grade. Fiddleheads is a wonderful program. Fiddleheads is chartered for performance arts.
No,
And
no.
yes, it is. And they perform very well. They don't test well. Out of Fiddleheads, I would not want to see our curriculum based on that. And I encourage you, because you looked at the numbers, Fiddleheads doesn't do well in this sort of base curriculum. I think 4th or 5th grade, for kids who are interested, yes, second grade may be great, but I don't know that that's a necessity. Just my opinion.
Fiddlehead is not the only school that starts in second grade.
No, I'm not suggesting they are. I'm sure in Falmouth, with all the money in the world, they start everything at kindergarten.
They do it at pre-K.
They're born with a violin.
Well, you know, the
And now it's
Falmouth,
on grade,
the
the
Falmouth
violin.
budget and the Wyndham budget are really not that far apart.
It's true.
There's a lot more people in Wyndham Raymond than in Falmouth.
Now, per student, cost per
Oh,
student,
cost per student are the same?
and it's not, nowhere near the same education.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, the next part of the meeting is gonna be executive session, so you'll have to ask people to depart.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
If you have any questions or any comments, please, through the chairman.
Thank you.
You can pick on me all you want.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under Title I, 456.
You're welcome.
Is it
I'll
E?
take a look.
Yeah.
Yes.
Consultant attorney.
I will second it. I think it's the only option.
All in favor? Okay,
Good night, gentlemen, ladies.
thank you.
Good night, Marty. To come out of executive session.
Second it.
All in favor? Okay. Next item is looking at the next meeting date. If it's possible to do things prior to the 15th.
Of November?
Yeah. And the only, if not, it's not a big deal. It's just that then it can, then if there's anything that we want to get into the that page on the new page on in the Eagle, that gets into Kayla's.
Which I was surprised this meeting wasn't in there.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
It wasn't on there. I was surprised.
Yeah, I'll talk with her about that. But you know, what we can do is make sure that we at least get the if we settle on a date, we get that in there so
Yeah.
that gets picked up. You know, at least it's on the electronic boards, it's on the website.
Yeah.
But that's one. What we've done is once a month we're doing. Is it once a month? Yeah, doing a one page, full page insert, or 2-page insert in the Wyndham Eagle on
good.
Raymond News.
Mhm.
So we're picking up a bunch of stuff that way. So.
I might be the annoying person with this one. I'm out of the state a lot over the next 3 weeks. Which is
Well.
right when you're looking at
Yeah.
and I'm sorry.
Well,
So-
I'm gonna be out of commission from the 13th probably to early December. So,
Okay.
So you're looking at December,
Yeah,
So we're
I'm
looking
sorry.
at, okay, so, but if we did that and we did the beginning of December,
We could still get it in.
because then if we start going late into December, then you're starting to get into
Weather.
oh yeah, tough
all
schedule.
the other fun stuff. So I mean, if we were to look at
the week of the 9th.
the week of the 9th, either the 9th or the 11th, the 10th is a select
Let
board
me just
meeting.
make sure we don't have a school board meeting on the 11th. Which we don't.
Okay.
So
So
the
we
9th
could-
or 11th work for me.
We can do either the 9th or the 11th.
What day of the week?
9th is a
Monday's-
Monday,
Monday's the
11th
9th.
is a Wednesday.
9th works for me.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the 9th.
Okay?
Good, I could do that.
Same 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yep. Okay, now, and Sue will pick that up from the minutes, but then she'll put that on the calendar, so then it'll go onto the electronic boards, and then I'll have Caleb put in a notice on there, on the, that we're gonna have that meeting on the 9th. All right?
So
Other
6
questions?
o'clock, right?
Yep.
Pending a snowstorm.
Yeah,
we never
right.
get snow.
I hope we do. Get out and
If there's nothing else, we will adjourn.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Meeting's out.